goods is the problem. So I don't think you'll have the knock-on effect as much as you might expect.
There's the upside.
That's the upside.
You know what? I've been thinking a lot lately about everyone keeps saying the Chinese are going to have to inject a ton of stimulus to recover from, the quarantine actions that they've taken against this virus. And I wonder if that will put them then at a slight disadvantage or give the U.S. the upper hand when it comes to the trade negotiations.
You never want to be in a negotiation in a position of weakness, and unfortunately this has put China in a position of weakness from their perspective. So you don't want to escalate things when you have this other macro backdrop. I think the internet is a real game changer versus historical precedents as well. So people staying at home, doing online shopping, there may be beneficiaries not going out to the street to buy things. And the internet also creating a lot more fear maybe than we had 20 years ago now too, with blogs and online news coming straight to your phone. You may be a little bit more scared and apprehensive than you would have been otherwise as well.
But you can still consume. I think that's one of the interesting things, and there probably is a lot of consumption going on. Patrick, wouldn't it help also the president in trade negotiations with the Chinese if Jerome Powell just, cut a quarter point or a half?
Well, it would help his stock market. It would help his economy. I don't know if it helps in trade negotiations at all, but it's the boost he'd like going into the election, obviously. A cut will push stock markets higher. It'll push economic growth a little bit. I don't think it'll matter too much on economic growth. Interest rates are accommodative, I'd say, in my opinion, already. The economy is doing fine. The reason for the cut wouldn't be to boost the economy. It would be to prompt some form of inflation and just to basically the hedge against falling into something like Japan experienced. I don't think the U.S. or Europe even is in anything like what Japan was. There is nominal growth in the U.S. There's nominal growth in Europe. Basically, when Japan had their stagnation, there was no growth and there was deflation. So it's not the same environment.
Not the same. Let me ask you about the Bank of England. We have just a couple of hours to wait, in fact, until we get that decision. The market's on a knife edge, 50-50. Which way does it go, Patrick? To cut or not to cut?
I'll be surprised if they cut, but definitely not shocked. It's going to be close. There's going to be votes on both sides. I think Carney might just say there's enough evidence that there is a bit of a confidence rebound following the Conservative majority, and if we do make progress on a trade deal, the cut may look silly in the future.
Could he be the swing voter?
He definitely could be, yeah. I'd put my money whichever way he votes, that's the way it'll go, actually.
Okay. Patrick, thank you very much. Patrick Armstrong, CIO at Plurimi Wealth Management.
No offense to the Bank of England, but this will be the first time I've been excited about a rate decision, I have to say, I think since Mervyn King. It's been a while here, but I'm also paying more attention because we got so much riding on it. Richard Jones has bet me a beer, or I bet him a beer that they would cut.
Playing the big money here.
Yeah, and I just think it's a bold call from Jones. He's on the MLive blog. You can check out his work at MLIV Go. And by the way, you can get more from Patrick Armstrong. He's going on Bloomberg Surveillance. Up next, if you're listening on London DAB Digital Radio, you'll hear more from Patrick with Tom Keene and Francine Lacroix. This is Bloomberg.
IBKR. Whatever job you're searching for, you can find it on LinkedIn. First jobs, flexible jobs, keep me out the cold jobs, advertising jobs, accounting jobs, HR, PR, even ER jobs, East London jobs, West London jobs, extra hour in bed jobs, startup jobs, late start jobs, get home in the daylight jobs, banking jobs, building jobs, flexible working on a Friday jobs, or even voiceover jobs, which is how I ended up recording this ad. Search millions of jobs on LinkedIn and find one meant for you.
Keys. Check. Phone. Check. 70s playlist downloaded? Check. Nice. There's one more thing you should check before you leave. Your travel. There's a new cycleway under construction between Kensington Olympia and Brentford Town Centre, so expect delays due to lane closures at the junction of Kew Bridge Road and Chiswick High Road. Plan ahead at tfl.gov.uk. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Welcome aboard Europe's 169th safest airline. You were like my 169th biggest crush in school.
Your total body age is 169.
The number 169 never screamed glamour until now. Get the Toyota Aygo X-Play for only £169 deposit, then £169 a month with 0% APR representative. Just go. Aygo.
0% APR representative on new sales of Aygo X-Play over 48 months. £169 per month. Customer deposit of £169 when proposed and approved via Access Toyota by 31st of March 2020. £3,311.25p optional final payment. Subject to status to over 18s. Indemnities may be required. Conditions apply. Toyota Financial Services.
4 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio.
Live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studios, this is Bloomberg Daybreak for Thursday, January 30th, 2020. Coming up this hour.
Global stocks fall as the spread of the coronavirus weighs on sentiment.
The death toll climbs to 170, while cases surpass 7,700.
Companies close thousands of stores in China, while more airlines cut service.
Now the World Health Organization meets to consider issuing a global alarm.
It looks like Democratic senators' odds for impeachment trial witnesses are dwindling. Plus, fewer Americans are dying from drug overdoses. I'm Michael Barr. More ahead.
I'm John Stashower in sports. The Knicks lost to Memphis, included a fight in the final minute. The Nets beat the Pistons. It's Federer versus Djokovic at the Australian Open.
That's all straight ahead on Bloomberg Daybreak. On Bloomberg 1130 New York, Bloomberg 99.1 Washington, D.C., Bloomberg 106.1 Boston, Bloomberg 960 San Francisco, Sirius XM 119, and around the world on BloombergRadio.com and via the Bloomberg Business app.
Good morning, I'm Karen Moscow.
And I'm Nathan Hager. Bloomberg Daybreak brought to you by SEI. Visionary asset managers find opportunity where others are challenged. Exploit disruption's potential with SEI's global operating platform. Find out how at SEIC.com/IMS.
And U.S. futures are falling as the spread of the coronavirus weighs on sentiment. 5:01 on Wall Street, and we check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day on Bloomberg. S&P futures are down 20 points. Dow futures down 169, and NASDAQ futures down 50. The DAX in Germany is down 0.9%. CAC in Paris down 1.1%. FTSE 100 down 0.6%. Nikkei 225 in Japan fell 1.7%, and the Hang Seng in Hong Kong dropped 2.6%. 10-year Treasury up 5/32. Yield 1.56%. Yield on the 2-year 1.40%. NYMEX crude oil is down 1.7% or 90 cents at 52.44 a barrel. COMEX gold is up 0.6% or $9.60 at 15.8560 an ounce. The euro 1.1019 against the dollar. The yen is at 108.89. Nathan.
And Karen, the death toll from the coronavirus has now hit 170, while cases in China surpass 7,700. Governments are tightening travel restrictions while companies suspend operations in China. We get the very latest now from Bloomberg's Selena Wang in Beijing.
The numbers continue to rise, and here in Beijing, the number of cases has surpassed 100, and you can really feel escalating paranoia and fear here, with more and more stores and restaurants closing down. The World Health Organization, they are reconvening to determine again whether or not this should be labeled as an international health crisis. They refrained from doing so last week, but said they are monitoring the situation closely.
And that meeting does convene this morning in Geneva. It'll be followed by an announcement from the WHO. That comes down at 1:30 p.m. Wall Street time.
Meantime, the U.S. is deploying resources to China to assist with the outbreak. That's according to White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow.
We are sending our best experts from CDC to help them. The Chinese invited us to do so. We'll be working with the World Health Organization to try to get through this as rapidly as possible.
Asked whether the U.S. will restrict flights to China, Kudlow said there's discussion of the matter, but no decision yet.
Now, the economic impact of the virus is already starting to take hold as airlines suspend flights and companies close stores in China. Bloomberg's John Tucker joins us live now with more on that. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Nathan. Apple, McDonald's, and Starbucks are closing stores. Tesla expects a production delay. Delta Airlines, American, United, Air Canada, and others are suspending flights and cutting service. Jeffrey Haley is senior market analyst at Oanda.
People stop going out, people stop traveling, businesses reduce capacity, airlines reduce capacity. All this flows and flows and flows into a negative feedback loop, which slows economic activity and thus economic growth.
And in China, cities and provinces are extending the Lunar New Year holiday beyond next week, with some telling businesses to hold off operations until mid-February. I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Daybreak.
John, thank you. Stocks in Asia were hit hard overnight with the MSCI Asia Pacific Index falling 1.8%. Bloomberg's Juliet Sally joins us now from Singapore with the details. Good morning, Juliet.
Good morning, Karen. Taiwanese stocks bore the brunt of the selling in Asia as traders in Taipei returned to work for the first time since the Lunar New Year break. The TAIEX had its biggest one-day drop since October 2018, down 5.8%. In Hong Kong, stocks had a second session of hefty losses, the Hang Seng posting its worst two-day loss in nearly 2 years, while a gauge of property stocks in the city tested lows not seen since August at the height of the protests. In Singapore, I'm Juliet Sally, Bloomberg Daybreak.
All right, Juliet, thank you. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is also weighing in on uncertainty surrounding the coronavirus.
It's too early to say what the effects will be. Of course, we're monitoring it carefully. There will clearly be implications, at least in the near term, for Chinese output, and I would guess for some of their close-in neighbors, and we'll just have to see what the effect is globally.
The Fed left rates unchanged at yesterday's policy decision while signaling a strong push to fight low inflation. Scott Meinert is Chief Investment Officer at Guggenheim.
The Fed is ready to do whatever it has to do to keep things going. You know, if I had to say, was this a hawkish press conference or a dovish press conference? I think it was slightly dovish.
The Fed tweaked its statement to hint at a stronger push to hit its 2% inflation target. That could mean a potential shift toward easier monetary policy.
Up next, the Bank of England issues its final policy decision under Governor Mark Carney. Right now, traders are split on whether the central bank will deliver a rate cut. Richard Jones is an FX and rates strategist for Bloomberg.
We've got about the same probabilities as a virtual coin toss, so around 50%. The Bank of England will probably deliver a rate cut today because they guided the market higher in terms of the probability. So I think not delivering today would be not really what the Bank of England and any other central bank in the world right now is in the process of doing. They're not there to trip up markets.
And we'll bring you live coverage of that decision at 7 a.m. Wall Street time, followed by Mark Carney's final remarks as governor of the Bank of England.
Now we have lots of earnings to get to as well. Let's start with Deutsche Bank. The stock has been all over the place this morning. The German lender saw gains at its investment bank in the fourth quarter, but overall reported a loss that was worse than estimates. That has shares of Deutsche Bank up more than 1.5% in Frankfurt.
Here in the U.S., Tesla had a blowout quarter. The company posted record revenue to record its fourth profit in the last 6 quarters. The forecast also impressed, with CEO Elon Musk expecting deliveries to surge 35% this year. That has shares of Tesla up 10% in early trading.
And Microsoft's also out with a strong quarter. Revenue topped estimates by more than $1 billion, rising 14%. That gain came from strong demand for cloud products, as shares of Microsoft higher by more than 3%.
And a different story for Facebook. The social network saw growth slow in the fourth quarter. Facebook posted record revenue, but saw user gains stall in the U.S. And this is Bloomberg.
Okay, thanks, Karen. It's 5:07 now on Wall Street. Let's bring in Michael Barr to get a check of the latest world and national news headlines. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Nathan. Senate Democratic leaders say it appears unlikely they will sway enough Republicans to agree to call new witnesses at President Trump's impeachment trial. Bloomberg's Martin DeCaro reports.
John Bolton may be the one witness whose testimony Democrats believe even the most ardent Trump supporters cannot easily dismiss. But it doesn't look like either the former national security advisor or anyone else will be called to testify.
It's an uphill fight.
Senate Minority Leader Charles Schumer hopes over the next 24 hours the required 4 Republicans break ranks.
Is it more like than not? Probably no. But is it a decent, good chance? Yes.
But if that decent, good chance comes up empty, Republican leaders say they plan to move directly to vote to acquit on the 2 articles of impeachment as soon as tomorrow. In Washington, Martin DeCaro, Bloomberg Daybreak.
Yesterday, Senate Democrats say they were stunned when Alan Dershowitz, a member of the president's legal team, introduced their defense that a trade of U.S. military aid for political favors, even if proven, could not be grounds for his impeachment.
If a president does something which he believes will help him get elected in the public interest, that cannot be the kind of quid pro quo that results in impeachment.
Lead House Manager Adam Schiff responded, that means everything's okay as long as the president believes it's in the re-election interest.
And now we're told that's not only okay, but it's beyond the reach of the Constitution. And why? Because abuse of power is not impeachable. Because if you say abuse of power is impeachable, well, then you're impeaching people, presidents, for mere policy. Well, that's nonsense. They're not the same thing.
The wife of late NBA legend Kobe Bryant says she is completely devastated in her first public comment since the helicopter crash that killed her husband, one of their daughters, and 7 others. Vanessa Bryant also announced the formation of a fund to help support the other families that were affected by the crash. According to new data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, fewer Americans died from drug overdoses in 2018 than the previous year before, the first decline in 3 decades. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg, Nathan.
Thanks, Michael. It's 5:09 on Wall Street. Time for the Bloomberg NBC Sports Update. Here's John Stashauer.
Nathan, the frustrations of a 13-36 record boiled over at the Garden on a night where fans were chanting, "Sell the team" to owner James Dolan. The Knicks' Alfred Payton and Marcus Morris both ejected in the final minute of the Knicks' 127-106 loss to Memphis. The Grizzlies' Jay Crowder stole an inbounds pass, ran back to the three-point line, hoisted up a shot. Payton then pushed Crowder into the stands. Here was Morris's interesting take on Crowder.
It is what it is, but when you step back and shoot a three, you know what I'm saying, and try to, low-key like rub it in that they're winning, it's just unprofessional, man. It's soft. This game is soft. He's soft. It's just, just how he carry anyone, It's just very womanlike.
Womanlike. Morris may find himself in trouble for that comment. Peaceful night in Brooklyn. The Nets beat the Pistons 125-115. Spencer Dinwiddie scored 28 points. No stopping Seton Hall. The Pirates, ranked 10th in the country, beat DePaul 64-57, led as usual by Miles Powell. He scored 24. The Hall is 8-0 in the Big East, has won 10 straight overall. The 50th meeting between Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic. They're playing now. Australian Open semifinals. Federer led 5-3 in the opening set, but right now